All right, I guess we can get started. Yeah, I already have some experts here. I'm gonna be preaching to the choir, to you, Kyle and Juan. Hello. So I guess we can get started. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. Um, my name is Lucia Vasquez. I'm in the Office of Research and Sponsor Programs, and one of our goals for this semester is to provide workshops to help you develop your grant proposals. And if you notice, we also have a series for people who are doing human subjects research. So also to help them with understand the process and just always remind everyone we're here to help. So today we're going to talk about one of the initial stages of preparing a grant proposal, which is developing a competitive idea. And I feel that I might be teaching, kind of preaching to the choir in some cases. We have some very expert people who are here in the audience. But anyway, let's kind of talk about this. So here's an outline. So we're going to start with, okay, what are the characteristics of a good research idea? How that kind of the process to generate an innovative research idea. And then when we have that, we need to evaluate. And once we might have many ideas and we need to select maybe a few of them. And then after that, then we need to start kind of developing even further. And then kind of towards the end is just kind of you need to think about how do you present that in your proposal. And just want to remind you that this kind of how to like next and the next workshop, you're still going to be continuing on this process of developing a competitive grant proposal. So something to always that you need to keep in mind as you start developing your grant proposal is to look at the request for proposal. So that document that says that, okay, there is this grant available. You go back and take a look carefully and see what they want to fund, because your idea should match those specific requirements. So that's what I said. You need to make sure that it aligns with the specific solicitation. And just gonna kind of give you an example, something that some colleagues and I have been working on is this this opportunity from the National Science Foundation. This is for providing scholarships for STEM students. So when we start looking at that examining, we need to focus on the specifics. What are they wanting to fund? Because if you propose, your proposal might be great, but if it doesn't match what they're looking for, then they're gonna fund you. And sometimes I personally, what I do is actually I kind of make a list of the specific things that, like for example, okay, they're looking for evidence-based curricular, co-curricular activities. So I start kind of developing a list of the specific things that the granting agency is looking for. So just kind of, I know these documents tend to be really long, but they're very, very important. So we kind of talk about creating a new idea. So before we dive into it, let's take a quick look and see what are the characteristics of a good idea. One of them is, okay, it's novel. So it's going to address a gap in the literature, a gap, and then you need to offer kind of like a different perspective on that gap that you identified. And in some cases, you can address that gap by combining different fields. Something that I can think of that I had done in my research is looking for sources of antimicrobials. So as you know, there is a lot of antimicrobial resistance, so there is a need to generate new types of antimicrobials. When I start looking at it, it's like, and of course you need to review the literature. I know that the antimicrobials that have been created are modifications of the same molecule. So it's a general category of molecule, and it has been just kind of some parts of the molecule have been changed. So we have stayed in kind of that in a very narrow space on the antimicrobials. So something we were thinking about is focusing on a different type of compounds that are not into that general category that has been used. And now, combining different fields, now that we have artificial intelligence and machine learning, we could use some of the information about molecules to actually design artificial molecules and test them in a computer system. The other thing you have to make sure that it's feasible, and that's also is considered when grant reviewers are looking at your application. If I were to say, well, I'm gonna sequence the genome of these different microbes, 10 microbes, of course it's gonna show that it's not feasible because it requires a lot of money. We don't have the equipment. So you have to make sure that it's also not too ambitious because people are going to look at that. I have seen cases where proposals have not been approved because they said, this is too much. Particularly for when you go for short time proposals, like 2-3 years, they said, I have conversations with the reviewers. It's impossible. They're not going to get this done in like a 3 years. So you have to be sure that what you're proposing is feasible in terms of knowledge, resources, time frame. It is relevant, of course, is that you need to look at your idea and see if it has the potential to introduce a paradigm shift, a way of looking at the program of the problem in a different way. And of course, it helps. So I know that some of us sometimes work on theoretical topics, but if your research falls into addressing a real world problem, of course, that's going to be advantageous. Also, if it has applications beyond the academic interest, also could be very helpful. There is, you might know, there is in our partnership with the Discovery Partners Institute, there is a lot of opportunities to commercialize some ideas. So that will fall within this category. The other thing that you see many times at those requests for proposals is whether your project is sustainable. So you propose for, and I'll give you an example that we're facing now when you think about the sustainability. We propose a project, a learning assistant program. Some of you are familiar with that. So the learning assistant program is having students, undergraduate students in the classes, helping the faculty and the students with the implementation of active learning activities. So we proposed this program, and it has been going great. We're reaching the end of the program. So, and we're asking now, how can we continue the program? So the funding is going to end. So how do you maintain that program or that project beyond that when the funding is needed? So that's something that we need to think about. And also, as you're planning it, think about the potential results of that in terms of sustainability. That could also go into the framework as you start kind of developing your proposal. Then you could say, okay, so we're going to set up this system, or we're going to buy equipment that would allow us to do other things. So just kind of think about sustainability and also what it can do after the funding ends. Okay, so here's like, how do we generate an innovative research idea? And of course, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir here, but first thing is do an extensive literature review. You need to know what has been done and where are the gaps. I have unfortunately seen proposals where they start with proposing a great idea without providing the background. You need to demonstrate that you have done your extensive literature review, and you need to show that there is actually this gap. And of course, then the next thing is how you're going to fill that gap. What is the solution that you are proposing? And in that step, this is finding potential solutions. A very, I guess, easy way of doing it, generating ideas, is to do brainstorming. And as as you know, there are many brainstorming methods to do it, but that's something, it helps a lot to get your ideas out of your head. And here I'm just kind of giving an example of three types of brainstorming methods. Mind mapping, of course, you guys know already mind mapping. And I'm going to change now my example to climate change. So some of us are working also in climate change. So if you're addressing a particular topic, so you can put it at the center and kind of start kind of brainstorming about all the concepts of issues associated with your topic. In this case, for example, what are the causes? What are the solutions? And then you can keep kind of branching over all of that. And at least for me, I think maybe because I'm a visual learner, it helps me a lot to kind of put everything there in a single paper. And it might be a different style for other people. Maybe you start kind of working on outline, but I'm just sharing something that some of us use. The other one is another brainstorming technique is the star bursting method. And you start with like drawing a star with like 6 peaks. And the thing here is that rather than trying to generate solutions, you generate questions. And you can see here, okay, so my topic is at the center. What is the climate, the impact on marine ecosystems of climate change? And you start doing kind of this process, okay, asking like, okay, what are the effects of biodiversity? Where this happening? How can I measure the impact? When do, in this case, they expect to see significant tipping points? Why are some ecosystems more resilient? So you can ask all these W questions to kind of help you kind of see, okay, what are the questions that are related to the problem you're trying to address? And by kind of generating all those questions, kind of helps clarify your mind in terms of what you could focus on. Another method is the lotus blossom technique. It's a different way of doing the mind mapping. And in this case, you place your main topic at the center of this 9-square grid. And then around it, you include themes related to that. For example, I could have written there, and some main topic is climate change. In the squares around, I could have written fossil fuels, deforestation, extreme weather patterns, and so on. So you kind of relate it. And the thing here is that you can then start getting into more detail. Like, for example, let's say fossil fuels. And then that you expand that theme and then up here fossil fuels. And then you start developing other things around it. It could be, okay, alternatives to fossil fuels, policies related to fossil fuels, incentives to stop using fossil fuels. And so you can expand this as much as you want. It's a different way of doing the mind mapping. Other people may choose just to do maybe an outline, where you start with your main topic, and the themes are subtopics. But anyway, so just kind of reminding you ways of generating all these different ideas and getting everything kind of on paper, if you will, to see what you can focus on. Okay, so now you have a brainstorm, and then now you have an idea of how you're going to approach a particular problem. You have to assess how novel it is. So, and it could be novel in many different ways. And then again, novelty is going to be looked at by the reviewers. So, if, well, you need to kind of, let me just step back. There are different areas of very, very different dimensions where you could assess your novelty. One of these dimensions is conceptual novelty. Are you introducing a new paradigm or a new paradigm shift? Maybe, for example, an example of the antibiotics, by looking at a different type of molecule for a potential antibiotics, maybe we're introducing a paradigm shift. In terms of methods, so you could kind of assess, are you introducing a new method, a new technique? Are you developing? Or maybe it could be that you are applying an existing technique to a different field. So that's also something to keep in mind. integration. So maybe you are now combining different things. Like we think now about back to the antimicrobial example. If I'm going to explore a different type of molecule, so usually the antimicrobial discovery was kind of the people who with experience in pharmaceuticals in the pharmaceutical area, but now we can start combining other areas. As I said, we can start combining machine learning, modeling, other areas to solve that problem. So by introducing that incorporation of different fields, you are contributing to a novel idea. And then once you kind of have assessed your idea, you kind of have to rate it. Okay, so I said, okay, my conceptual novelty, I'm here introducing a new theory. Oh, maybe yes, maybe not. Oh, but maybe I'm introducing a new technique, or I am applying my technique to something that nobody else had applied before. So you have to continue kind of assessing your idea. And you need to continue assessing it, and again, think about now, kind of zoom out and think about what is the potential impact. Am I going to affect just my field, or maybe could have an impact on society, my community? You need to think about that. And again, going back to, is your idea feasible? And when we talk about feasibility, as I said, we need to talk about different dimensions. One of them is the expertise. Do you have the expertise to complete your project? And if not, I mean, for example, I'm not an expert in statistics, so maybe I can incorporate into my team someone who is an expert in statistics. I'm not an expert in machine learning, so I could incorporate somebody else. So you develop, kind of think about that. What kind of areas I need to put together a very strong proposal, and then what kind of areas of expertise? Just build your team based on those areas of expertise. The other thing, of course, in terms of feasibility, consider resources. And resources, of course, is could be several things, but examples are, okay, you have the equipment to do it, you have the facilities to do it, you have the administrative capability. Like, for example, if you ask us to implement something that's going to be very complex, it's going to need, from the administrative side, like 20 people. We don't have that capability. So far, there are only 3 of us in our office. So there's multiple things that you have to kind of remember as you start developing your proposal. And again, go back to, okay, it's kind of a constant iteration. It's like go back and say, okay, is what I'm proposing aligning or in sync with what the specific solicitation requires? You constantly have to be checking and make sure that you are not deviating. Because sometimes I don't know about you, but it happens to me that I get really excited and start thinking about this, and then I start deviating about we could do this, we could do that, and then I'm ending up over here, really excited here, but this other area is not fitting what my original intent was. So just kind of constantly, have to be checking. And another way of assessing your idea is conducting what they call a SWOT analysis. You have to look at the strengths of what you're proposing. Are there any weaknesses? If there are, how you could address them. For example, in the weaknesses, I could say, I'm gonna again develop this. Going back to my antimicrobial example. Yeah, I'm gonna start testing these other compounds and see if they're through machine learning, if there are similar compounds that could be antimicrobials. And let us assume for a minute that a weakness could be that we don't have experts in machine learning, although we do in our campus. But in the case where we don't have it, well, I can identify that weakness, but I can think of a solution. Like I said, well, okay, well, maybe we don't have this expertise, but maybe in Champaign or Chicago or any other university that have that kind of expertise, so it could be a part of my team. Opportunities, also, you kind of think about what could you do with that type of research that you are proposing, and well, threats. So just kind of assessing what could go wrong, and like In our case, if we start thinking about the antimicrobial to test it, we will have to use some bacterial strains that are resistant, which could be kind of something that you really have to maintain in a controlled environment. And there are potential threats if there's contamination. We don't want to have like all those bacteria floating around. But just kind of assessing your idea from different perspectives could make it stronger. And again, as you continue, keep it in mind because then your reviewers are going to be looking for these topics. Okay, highlight what is the potential impact of your research, and also because sometimes we, at least me, I know, seem to get really excited about something specific that I forget. I kind of get immersed myself in my little world and forget about the rest. But you have to think about, okay, what is going to be the impact of your research? And if there's something innovative, you have to emphasize it. I know that sometimes we tend to be really humble, and it's like, no, you have to be upfront and say, yeah, this is innovative. I'm taking a different approach to the solving this problem. And so once you have distilled, and then it's kind of like a little funnel, you have a bunch of ideas and just start kind of narrowing down. And then the next thing is how you present them in your proposal. And of course, clear and concise writing is one aspect, and also, of course, writing for your audience. I would recommend, if you haven't had a chance of reading a paper, and I don't remember the title, I can share it with all of you, that compares academic writing versus grant writing. As academics, I have seen that and I have heard it from other colleagues when we're reviewing proposals, is sometimes as academics, we tend to write a proposal as if we're writing an article for a peer-reviewed journal. And the tone and the purpose of a grant proposal is different. You have to show how your research is going to help the granting agency achieve their goal. Like, for example, for NSF, the example that I showed you before, we need to show how an institution is going to help NSF's goal of increasing the number of STEM graduates. As opposed to, I'm really excited about, well, I'm going to try this new teaching method which will provide me enough data to publish a paper or whatever. No, you have to kind of reflect on that. The other thing, make it easy for the reviewers in terms of the language that you use, as well as the information. If you can summarize some of the data you're presenting in a chart, in a graph, something that will make the reviewer kind of, it will make it easy to understand what you're trying to say, that's very helpful. And along visuals, I'm a fan of logic models. And if we'll have a workshop on logic models, but it's a way of really summarizing what's going on in your project. In some cases, the granting agency provides a scoring criteria. And if they do, use it because it's going to help you prepare a really good proposal and tailor it to what they're looking for when they're reviewing the proposal. And another thing that we should also keep in mind is get feedback from other people, your colleagues, because they have expertise in the area, but also people who are not experts, because sometimes, particularly when you are writing for a proposal for a foundation, you may have people who are not experts in your area, right? They're just kind of people who are volunteering to come. And so you want to make sure that they understand what you're proposing. So that's also, that's why it is very important also to include non-subject matter experts as part of the review process before you submit that application. Some of the pitfalls to avoid, you can see the project is too ambitious. I saw that in a review that we did in the spring semester. It was not funded because they said it's too much. It's too much. The objectives are unclear. That I have seen that too. It's like, what is they're trying to do? So that's make sure that you are clear. Sometimes, if you're going to make a claim, make sure that you back it up with data or references. People, reviewers don't like to see that you're making this statement with no information to back it up. And again, well, when your idea doesn't match what the particular call for proposals is trying to fund, then of course that's not going to help you. And then some again, have you seen a theme here? Tailor your idea to the specific request for proposals. I'm keep repeating it. Follow the guidelines very meticulously. If they tell you that they want your proposal in a font size 11 Arial, you have to do it. Otherwise, sometimes just because you didn't follow the instructions, they won't review it. And the other thing is that I need to emphasize that you need to develop a plan for your proposal. We have templates that we'll make available to all of you in the next few weeks to start planning your proposal. And then you'll see through the workshops that we're going to be providing, we're going to kind of walk you through the different steps of putting together a grant proposal. And the other thing is that once you have put together everything, keep in mind that it's going to take time to review. And so just make sure that you plan and allow enough time to review everything. So I think that's my last slide. And now I'll open, that is for questions. Any questions from Zoom or here? Yes.
So I've seen the novelty slide, there's a context novelty, right? Which means applying the existing methods to a new area. Others like an application domain you're changing here. So how is it seen in the United States context? It's this is my first time, probably thinking of writing a proposal to the NSF or probably any American grants. By the way, I'm a new faculty in the computer science. I just joined a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you.
To UIS.
So how does the American grant agencies view the context models, the context applications novelty?
So, could you give them an example? So if you are you can give us an example.
Which means when it says the other novelty models, you have quite a few other methods, right? So if you come up with a new methodology or new idea, or applying the existing method into the different application. So among these three, how is this context novelty seen as? Because most of my research is actually applying the existing ones into the new domains or the new applications. So I know several times when I applied for grant agencies in other parts of the world, success didn't touch me. they knocked the door. But when I probably come up with a new method completely, or the new ideas, they succeed. So now I just wanted to know how does it work in the US? Which one is way?
Well, I think it depends on the overall idea that you are proposing. What is the overall problem you are trying to solve? If you are kind of using a method that has been used and something else, but you are applying it to something completely different, I think in a way it's positive because it's kind of increasing knowledge in a different area. And as long as you give credit to whoever developed the method, I think you are fine. I think as long as you give credit, it doesn't involve any intellectual property issues. I think it's fine. Yeah, I think it's fine. And we can work with you to provide specific feedback on what you are proposing.
One more question.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
So do we have a network among all the other three campuses, Chicago as well as the Champaign campuses?
We have, excuse me, what?
A network, internal network?
Oh, yes. If you're looking for collaborators, yes, let us know. Just contact us. What kind of is your topic that you're looking for? Yeah, we work closely with them. Yeah, and we might not know them personally, but we can contact someone and say, we're looking for a partner, a collaborator in this particular area. Could you suggest somebody? So, and not only within the UI system, also you might know we're a member of the Illinois Innovation Network, which includes universities within Illinois, blanking in which ones, Southern Illinois, at Carbondale, at Edwardsville, Eastern Illinois, Western Illinois. Also, we're members of the Discovery Partners Institute that also has several universities as partners, also international universities as partners. So we can find a partner for you. So yeah, I think we're very well positioned to help find collaborators.
Just one quick comment regarding the network. I think one of the best way maybe you simply contact the faculty because you can check their background, which one potentially a little bit close to your research area. if you reach out to them, personally, I think are better from, instead institution kind of looking for the partnership. You are more.
Yeah, you have somebody
position.
specific in
Yes.
mind. Yeah, you have somebody specific in mind. Yeah. Although we can help and kind of contribute to the introduction and say, hey, we have a new faculty member, introduce you, the two of you.
One last question, I'm sorry that I missed one of your previous lectures about the potential places to look for the grant funders. So I was wondering, if you have anything, any place.
We're
where-
developing
yeah.
a resource, right, for Grant Forward. We are trying to develop is a very brief video to show faculty how can they build up their profile.
Okay.
But we'll send you the materials. Yeah. But I think we need to kind of do another round of reaching out to faculty. And for those who haven't had a chance to set up their profile, help them do so and Grant Forward. And it's really easy because you log in, and even if you just upload your CV based on the content of your publications, it will kind of grab keywords, and then any funding opportunities related to the keywords, then you'll get the alerts. Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, we're working on developing that resource. I hope in the next week or so we send that to the campus. Yeah. Yes.
I'll also say in terms of US agencies and funding opportunities, I think where you are submitting will be dictated by the type of work you want to do, because NSF really is fundamental science. So they really want those new ideas, but within my field, I could go to NASA or EPA or even DOE and propose some more applied work, because they're really looking more at implementation and applied science applications. So there's usually a place to find funding for any of that spectrum, but you just have to make sure that you're going to the right agency.
Sure.
Finding the right RFP.
Yeah, and then we're here to help you. I mean, when you want to run an idea by us. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah,
Suggestions from some of the, yes, anyone in the audience?
I have a question. This is Ellie Buxton. Can you hear me?
Yes, Ellie, thank you.
Okay, thank you for the presentation, Lucia. So my question is, do you have samples of successful proposals for different agencies that faculty can use?
We're in the process of developing that. We have some examples that are publicly available, and we can share that with you. We're in the middle, now that we're more staff, we're starting to develop a set of resources for all of you. And then so just so that you know what is to come, we want to develop a list of successful proposals from different agencies. We have some. Could you guys kind of remind me, what we use in the grant writing sprint? We could post those examples. We have some, so that's our idea, to have repository of all these different proposals, successful proposals, both external and internal. We also want to, this is in our near future, develop kind of templates, kind of packets. Like if you are applying to NSF, this is your packet, this is your format, so you are applying to NIH. So we're working on developing those kind of packets for each, or for at least the main granting agencies. Ellie, does that answer your question?
Yes, that would be extremely helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, reach out to us, please, and because I know from walking from here to my office, I'm gonna forget it. So if you just kind of just send me an email, and we'll share what we have with you, and also we'll make it available to everyone.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you so much for all the work that your office has done, in the last few years. There's been a lot of improvement and a lot of resources for us to use. So I really appreciate that.
And we're always welcome to feedback. Anything that you can think of that we're not doing, please let us know. There might be some things we're not thinking about, and then just feel free to provide feedback anytime. We're open to suggestions, comments. We want to improve. We want to continue supporting our faculty, and if you can think of different ways we can do so, just let us know. Any other comments or questions? All right, if we don't
I
have,
probably, yeah.
yes,
I just have a comment, thank you for Lucia for organizing this event. I think everything, I agree with you, everything you said in the slide. But I just want to emphasize one point. When you propose a new idea, I think it's very important you have, expertise, experience in the idea, because I have participated on reviews on proposal. The proposal simply excellent, but if you check the, the PI, they simply do not have the past work on this, area. So likely you are not going to succeed. Okay, so I think it's very important. If you propose some brand new idea, you may, try to collaborate with some people has experience in the area and try to work together. Otherwise, you pretty much kind of waste time. Maybe because think about the National Science Foundation right now, it's a successful rate. I don't know the recently, but it used to be only under 10%. So, and also the one disadvantage for UIS is we pretty much, if we submit to the federal agency like National Science Foundation, NIH, we compete with UIC pretty much at the same level. We do not have any advantage, so that's kind of increase our difficulty trying. Yeah, so I think that's why I think when you develop the proposal, it's very important you have some experience, you have some data, then back up, that would be much better. Otherwise, simply waste time.
no, that's an excellent point, Juan. And you can see that, for example, in the NSF proposals, they ask you for your CV and for publications or activities related to what you're proposing. And I would say, even if someone has a great idea but don't have the expertise, you shouldn't get discouraged. I mean, it's just as Hua suggested, just develop your team. Maybe you are not the main principal investigator. Maybe you are one of the collaborators, and just kind of start building that expertise, start publishing in that area. And at some point later, you could be the main principal investigator. And in other cases, it's not going to be just collaborate with somebody else. Like, for example, I was thinking, yeah, I'm very interested in machine learning, but it's like, there's no way I'm going to become an expert or near machine learning. I'm going to have to just rely on somebody else.
So can I say something?
Sure.
Yeah, I want to share my experience of attending NSF PI meeting. This past summer, I submitted a proposal for CS for All grant, and then they funded my travel to attend the PI meeting. Even though it wasn't funded, they just said, that we don't promise that's going to get funded, but we want you to see other PIs and all that. So we went in there, we talked to the program director, and we had an appointment with him, and we said, okay, this is our idea. And he said something that was like really surprising to me. He said, okay, your proposal, your idea is great, but we have funded a lot of people from Illinois. So that's actually to our disadvantage that we were part of the University of Illinois system, just because that particular grant funded a lot. They were looking more for like more rural areas that have less resources.
Oh, wow. That's interesting to know that.
Programs have to fund a full profile, which includes geographic and institutional diversity.
So in those situations, maybe we can even reach out to somebody from like other states that have less resources. Because if you, for that particular grant, if we go to their website, we can see how much grant award each state received. And then we can look for collaborators maybe in the states that haven't received that many awards, because that apparently is an important factor, at least for that particular grant I was applying for.
Oh, wow. Yes. Thank you for sharing that, Ellie.
You're welcome.
All right. Are there any other comments or questions? All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming, and have a great weekend. Bye.
Thank you.